that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Hollywood is a creative place, but is also a very litigious place. Sam Wilson, he is a dumb and litigious man. Hollywood's a very litigious place, and a little bit of a headline caught my attention out of the Hollywood Reporter that Disney is suing YouTube right now. And this is actually more serious than you might think. Over poaching an executive ahead of a licensing renewal deals. Now listen, on its first surface, you might think, well, who cares? So I saw a headline the other day that YouTube had hired this guy who was an executive at Disney to head up like their global sports and something division. We'll read it in the article. Okay, that's interesting. But this is a big deal. Disney's pissed and they're suing YouTube over it. And we're going to read a little bit of the Hollywood Reporter's article here to get exactly why this is such a big deal. All right, listen to this. YouTube's hiring of longtime Disney executive Justin Connolly to serve in a newly created role as global head of media and sports has sparked a lawsuit against the Google-owned company. Disney, in a lawsuit filed on Wednesday in Los Angeles Superior Court, alleges breach of contract, tortious interference with contractual relations, and unfair competition. It seeks a court order to block the hiring, arguing that Connolly could leak confidential information or trade secrets belonging to Disney while Disney is in the middle of a licensing renewal agreement with YouTube. No conflict of interest there. It goes on to say this: Connolly and Disney last year entered into a deal in which he agreed to stay with the company until the end of 2027, according to the complaint. Under the terms of the agreement, he was barred from engaging in dealings with competitors and had a one-time right to terminate the agreement for any reason as long as he provided written notice of his intent to exercise the provision. The lawsuit accuses YouTube of inducing Connolly into breaching the employment agreement. By the way, that is illegal. You are not allowed to do that. You cannot, if let's say, Chris, on top of everything else she does so well, is a painter. And she's under contract with Rob to paint a portrait for his, what would you call the fancy room? The parlor. For Rob's parlor.
Damn, Rob.
And now she's got a contract.
I didn't know I had a parlor.
You got parlor money? Shit.
What is illegal for me to do, if I know that contract exists between them, to try to entice Chris to break her contract. That in and of itself is not legal to do. Anyway, the lawsuit accuses YouTube of inducing Connolly into breaching the employment agreement despite knowing of Connolly's exclusive deal with Disney. YouTube offered Connolly a job to spearhead its media division. Now, this is where it gets in the nitty-gritty. Disney learned of YouTube's offer in April during a critical time in Connolly's 20-plus year tenure, during which the company was in the midst of several important product launches and renegotiations of some of its largest distribution deals, according to the lawsuit. Notably, Connolly leads the Disney team negotiating a license renewal with YouTube. Get that last part. The guy that YouTube just poached was Disney's lead guy in renegotiating their new licensing deals with YouTube.
So it's like the quarterback right before the game is like, I'm going to be quarterback for them.
For the team you're playing against next week. Anyway, the last part here that I'll read is from the complaint
upon.
That says Connolly has intimate knowledge of Disney's other distribution deals, the financial details concerning Disney's content being licensed to YouTube, and Disney's negotiation strategies, both in general and in particular with respect to YouTube, writes Kevin Gott, the lawyer for Disney in the complaint. It would be extremely prejudicial to Disney for Connolly to breach the contract, which he negotiated just a few months ago, and switch teams when Disney is working on a new licensing deal with the company that is trying to poach him. This is an episode out of Succession. This is literally an episode out of Succession. And honestly, unless there are massive pieces to this puzzle that are not being covered in this story, which is a possibility, I don't know how on earth anybody on YouTube's legal team thought YouTube could get away with this. Now, I'm obviously a big YouTube fan. I make my living on YouTube. I'm no anti-YouTube guy. But I don't know how Google ever thought, we can get this will slide. We'll get away with it. I don't know what they were thinking, because they are going to get the crap kicked out of them once this goes in front of a judge. And I have a feeling they know it and it won't get in front of a judge. So one of two things will happen. I think YouTube will either rescind the employment offer or YouTube is going to cut a big check to Disney because something's going to happen here. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Ridge. Hey guys, listen, I love this thing. This is my Ridge wallet. And honestly, I think it's the last wallet I'll probably ever need. I used to carry around this huge, bulky leather beast stuffed with receipts, old cards, and frankly, way too much junk. It messed up my back when I would sit down on it with my back pocket. And since switching to Ridge, game changer. This thing is sleek, compact, holds up to 12 cards plus cash, and it still fits perfectly in my front pocket. I've got the carbon fiber one. It's ridiculously durable and looks amazing. You can choose from over 50 different colors and styles too. And in today's world, this part is key. It's got RFID blocking tech built in so you can keep your info safe from digital thieves. Peace of mind and style? Absolutely. Another added bonus is if you're like me and constantly misplacing your stuff, they even have an AirTag attachment so you can always know where your wallet is. And to make this even better, Ridge gives you free shipping, a 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty on all of their products, wallets, key cases, even suitcases. Right now, Ridge is having their huge Memorial Day sale. Get up to 40% off at ridge.com/Campea. That's ridge.com/Campea. And after you buy, tell them our show sent you because it helps a lot. Anyway, Chris, you saw this story and everything. This is like real world succession intrigue and Hollywood stuff. I don't know. What did you make of it?
He's kind of screwed, isn't he?
That's what I was thinking.
Because going into it, first reading the contract, it was, this seemed, or not the contract, the article, it seemed maybe potentially kind of petty. But then it was, oh no, you agreed to all of this on paper?
Yeah.
You legally agreed to all of this and then you went and did this thing? Oh, buddy, no. Because it's a different thing if you don't have NDAs, if you don't have non-competes, those sort of things, and they're not part of your contract whatsoever. Absolutely. Your employer can't be like, well, actually, I feel very upset about that and you should be nice to me because we have, history together. No, you get what you negotiate, right, Rob? And so in this case, he agreed to all these terms and then went over to YouTube. I mean, you have to anticipate the mouse coming after you for something like this.
And this is the key part to me, is that as the guy who is heading Disney's negotiations, he knows all the details of the other licensing agreements with other companies, which is not public information. And so he knows all those details, and in the middle of negotiating with YouTube, suddenly shows up in the negotiating room, but sits on the other side of the table.
It's like in 13 going on 30, when she's like, oh no, I'm really against Sparkle Magazine, but she's been giving Sparkle Magazine everything the whole time.
You make a great lawyer. You need to get on their team right now.
Thank you so much. Legally brunette.
We need more 13 going on 30 stuff. Anyway, Rob, what is standing out to you when you hear about this story?
Well, John, I like Chris pointed out, I always like to say in Hollywood, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate.
Right.
But if you don't live up to what you've negotiated, then you get what you deserve. And I think that what has happened here is I bet they gave him an incredible inducement to come work for them.
Oh, yeah.
Something
no doubt.
incredibly lucrative, thinking that it wouldn't be a problem. Now that it's a problem, our boy here could lose everything.
Yeah.
He could be losing, because Disney, they can't fire him right now, because if they fire, if he's quitting, like, what are they going to do? I think this was a bad move on his part. No matter how much money Google promised you, you just renegotiated your contract with Disney through 2027. Unless they fire you or whatever, you can't get out of that. You have to live up to that. And probably, look, I can understand Google, especially when it comes to sports licensing, is really important.
To all the streaming world right now.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people in the world that know what this guy knows. And I'm sure, like your own wife, who has knowledge, with new programs and management programs, she got her PhD. She is hireable because she knows things most of the people don't know in the world. She's new, and this guy has that knowledge. She's got institutional knowledge that's priceless. And so they probably backed up a Brinks truck to him, and he figured he could get away with it. But you cannot get away with it. You can't do that. It's going to end badly for Disney. Will work it out. And Google will work it out, but our boy here, he's gonna find himself in a world of hurt.
Yeah, he realized that Brinks trunk was just using his thing to turn around in.
just driving to make a big U-turn.
I just don't understand why would you do this?
Well, the reason you would do I mean, why would you do this if you're Google? To get a strategic advantage.
I know that,
Why
but
would you
why
do
would
it if
he
you're
do
the
that?
guy?
Yeah.
Because you're probably getting offered more money than you've ever been offered. Why would you do it if you're Disney? Well, because you got to protect your IP. Like in California, for example, and in other places, it is illegal to try to write in anti-compete laws, right? Anti-compete things, right? Because if somebody works in, I don't know, the sneaker industry, you can't say as a part of your employment, you can't go and work for another sneaker company. That's ridiculous. This is their area of field. But in law, there are exceptions to that, where you leaving your company to go to a competitor that creates an unfair and unbalanced competitive edge because of insider information that you have, that is very prejudicial.
And it was with a time frame.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a non-complete compete clause for like, I don't know, a year and a half or something.
And so, like, again, it's going to be really interesting. Again, there could be massive pieces of information that are not in this article that we don't know that might mitigate this a little bit. But I'm just saying, on the surface, from the information we have, Google will not want this going in front of a judge. They're going to want to get this thing to go away. And whether they do that by backing off or whether they do it by cutting a big check, I don't know yet.
I mean, big tech has enough problems, with around the world. And doing these kinds of business practices are not something, I mean, it's not like we don't know that they don't do this, but it's not something they want to have publicized.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I think this one is fascinating. I want to see a documentary on this someday starring Christian Bale. Apparently Disney is suing YouTube because there's like Succession level shit going on here about hiring away the guy who has all the knowledge about Disney's tactics and strategies for negotiating a licensing deal, and you literally bring him over to the other side while he's under contract. Anyway, whatever you guys think about this, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.